they named me Lin Sui. But in the Lin family's household register, in the family's 18 years of time, I've never been a daughter. I was a free servant, a lifelong cash machine, a scapegoat for all mistakes, and a stepping stone for another person's glamorous life. The other person is Lin Yu, the lucky son my parents picked up from an orphanage 18 years ago. My mother, Lu Xiaoying, was superstitious by nature. 18 years ago, when I was just born, a charlatan told her that I was a life-restraining girl who would suppress the family's fortune, ruin my father's career, and bring misfortune to the whole family. Coincidentally, the orphanage near the community had a baby boy abandoned by his parents. The charlatan claimed that the boy was a wealth-inducing noble son who could prosper the family and bring endless wealth and good luck to the Lin family. Just like that, without a single hesitation, my parents made the most cold-blooded decision of their lives. They did not swap babies in the hospital by accident. It was a deliberate, premeditated abandonment. They kept the so-called lucky orphan boy and sent their own biological daughter, me, to my poor, disabled, distant grandma's countryside home. For 18 years, I grew up in the mountains with no electricity, no decent food, no warm clothes, relying on my grandma's meager pension to survive. While Lin Yu stayed in the city's high-rise apartment, ate fine delicacies, wore luxury brands, received elite education, and was held in the palms of my parents as the family's sole hope. When I was 10 years old, my grandma passed away. My parents didn't feel a trace of sorrow. They only took me back to the city to let me start repaying their birth grace. From the age of 10 to 18, I lived in my own biological home, but I was more humble and desolate than a servant. The largest bedroom belongs to Lin Yu. The best nutritional supplements are for Lin Yu. All the family savings are spent on Lin Yu's education and entertainment. I lived in a cramped utility room of less than 6 square meters next to the toilet, eating leftover meals that had turned cold, wearing secondhand clothes donated by relatives, and undertaking all the housework of the whole family. My parents instilled a distorted concept in me every day. You are a life-restraining evil star that IT is already a great mercy for us to take you in and let you live. You must dedicate everything you have to your brother Lin Yu to offset your evil fate and bless the family's prosperity. I was not allowed to have hobbies, not allowed to have temper, not allowed to compete with Lin Yu for anything. Lin Yu skipped classes, fought, gambled, and messed around with bad friends. All his mistakes were attributed to my evil fate restraining him. I studied hard day and night, ranked first in every grade, and won countless scholarships. All my honors were taken away by my parents to paste on Lin Yu's wall, claiming that it was Lin Yu's hard-won achievement. I worked part-time during every winter and summer vacation, delivering takeaways, sorting warehouses, tutoring primary school students, earning every penny with my blood and sweat. All my income was forcibly taken away by my parents to fill Lin Yu's endless extravagant consumption. Lin Yu's mobile phones, game consoles, brand new sneakers, and luxury travel expenses over the years are all bought with my hard-earned money. I once naively tried to fight for fairness. I asked my mother why I couldn't have a new school uniform like Lin Yu. She slapped me hard on the face, her eyes fierce and cold. A sinful restraining star still wants to wear new clothes. You deserve to wear rags for a lifetime to atone for your sins. Your brother is the family's lucky star. He deserves the best of everything. I asked my father why all my scholarships were taken away for Lin Yu's squandering. He smoked a cigarette coldly and said indifferently, "Your life was saved by us. Your money, your future, your everything should belong to the family and your brother. Don't be greedy and ungrateful." 8 years of urban life, 8 years of endless exploitation and spiritual abuse. I have long understood that there is no family affection in this family, only selfishness, greed, and extreme partiality. They know clearly that I am their biological daughter, and Lin Yu is just an adopted orphan. But they would rather devote all their wealth and love to a stranger than give me a trace of warmth. They abandoned their own blood for illusory superstition and vanity, and squeezed their biological daughter to feed a white-eyed wolf. On the eve of my 18th birthday, I accidentally heard my parents' complete plan while cleaning the living room. Lin Yu's college entrance examination results were appalling, and he couldn't get into any regular university. My parents planned to use all their family savings plus the compensation for the old house demolition to send Lin Yu abroad to study at a pheasant university and buy him a house and a car in the city after he returns. As for me, their biological daughter, they decided to force me to drop out of high school immediately after I finished the college entrance examination, send me to work in a factory in a remote city, and let me remit money every month for the rest of my life to support Lin Yu's overseas life. They even planned to find a poor and old bachelor for me in the future, exchange a bride price, and use my marriage money to pay off Lin Yu's overseas loan. That girl is a restraining star. She is born to suffer and pay for you. Only by squeezing her dry can our family's fortune be stable. After Yu goes abroad, he will have a bright future. We will rely on our son to enjoy blessings in the future. That useless girl is not worthy of occupying our family's resources. The cold and shameless words completely froze my blood. For 18 years, I endured hardships, swallowed grievances, and exhausted all my efforts to be sensible and obedient, hoping to exchange a little family affection. But in their eyes, I have never been a human being, only a tool for atonement and a cash machine for Lin Yu. Since you regard your biological daughter as a tool and a sinner. Since you spare no effort to pamper a white-eyed wolf and squeeze your own flesh and blood. Then I will personally destroy all your illusions, crush all your blessings, and let this cold-blooded family be completely buried in the karma you have planted. I will not expose the truth in a hurry, nor will I choose a hasty confrontation. I will wait until you pour all your assets, all your hopes, all your life's efforts into Linyu, and then let you lose everything in an instant. I want you to taste the pain of losing all your wealth, the collapse of all hopes, the betrayal of your beloved son, and the spurn of the whole world. I want to complete the most thorough full family cremation for this wicked family. Hashtag Chapter 1 Hidden Edge. Pretend to be cowardly and lull the enemy into a false sense of security. The night before the college entrance examination, the whole family was bustling around Linyu. Lu Xiaoying carefully peeled longan and lychee for Linyu, fearing that he would be tired from studying, and kept nagging. My baby you, don't be nervous tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you don't do well in the exam. Mom and Dad have saved enough money to send you abroad. You just need to relax. My father Lin Guodong put a brand new luxury watch on Linyu's wrist, his face full of doting. This watch is for you to relieve pressure. After the exam, Dad will take you to travel abroad for a month. Whatever you want, Dad will buy it for you. Linyu leaned on the sofa lazily, playing mobile games with his head down, responding perfunctorily with an arrogant and lazy expression. He has long been used to his parents' unconditional indulgence. In his eyes, the whole family's efforts for him are taken for granted. As for me, who was sitting in the corner silently reviewing my lessons, no one took a look at me, no one cared about my exam status, no one asked if I had enough rest or enough food. Lu Xiaoying glanced at me casually, her tone full of disgust and warning. Lin Sui, remember your identity tomorrow, don't take the exam too well, and steal your brother's limelight. If others say our family's adopted son is not as good as the restraining star, it will affect your brother's reputation. Lin Guodong echoed coldly. Just pass the exam casually. Your only task after the exam is to go to work and earn money for your brother. Don't have any delusions of going to university. In the past, I would feel wronged and sad, and would secretly shed tears. But now I lowered my eyes, hid all the coldness and hatred in my heart, and pretended to be cowardly and obedient, nodding gently. I know I won't steal my brother's limelight. My obedient attitude made the whole family relax their vigilance completely. They always thought that I was a weak, cowardly, and resigned girl who had been brainwashed by them for 18 years and would never dare to resist. Linyu even raised his head and mocked me casually. Trash is trash. Even if you study hard, you can only be a worker for me in the future. Know your place. I didn't refute, just continued to review my lessons quietly, with a calm and humble posture. But my heart was already icy cold, and the plan of revenge was becoming clearer step by step. I know their every thought, every plan, every obsession. They value face more than life, pin all their life hopes on Linyu, and regard their family wealth as the capital for Linyu to prosper. Then I will destroy their face, shatter their hopes, and empty their wealth completely. During the 3 days of the college entrance examination, I performed steadily and gave full play to my strength. Every answer was precise and perfect, and every question was done with ease. After the exam, Linyu threw away his stationery and went out to party with his friends without going home, indulging in drinking and carnival. And I went home silently, took the initiative to clean the whole house, washed all the clothes of the family, and continued to play the role of the most obedient and sensible servant girl. Lu Xiaoying was very satisfied with my obedience. While eating the fruit I washed, she said to Lin Guodong complacently, "Look, this girl knows her place. She is born to work for you. After you goes abroad, we can let her earn money steadily for us." Lin Guodong nodded. It's good that she is sensible. After the results come out, we will directly arrange her to go to the factory. Don't let her have any chance to go to school and turn over. I stood aside, bowed my head and said nothing, and let their arrogant and selfish words fall on my ears. The more arrogant they are now, the more painful their fall will be later. In the next half month, I continued to pretend to be humble and obedient, taking the initiative to take on all housework, taking the initiative to hand over all my part-time salary, and never showed any dissatisfaction or resistance. The whole family completely let down their guard against me. They thought I had been completely brainwashed and would be their lifelong tool. During this period, I quietly completed 2 things. First, I sorted out all the evidence of my parents' long-term mental abuse, forced labor, and illegal deprivation of my right to education over the years, including chat records, voice recordings, and witness statements from teachers and neighbors. Second, I quietly found the orphanage's old files and found the notarized adoption certificate of Linyu 18 years ago, as well as the hospital birth certificate that proved my blood relationship with them. I didn't expose it immediately. I just stored all the evidence securely, waiting for the best outbreak time. Half a month later, the college entrance examination results were officially released, and the family's fate turning point arrived as scheduled. Hashtag Chapter 2 First Explosion. Score reversal. Shatter the family's superstitious illusion. On the morning of the result inquiry, Linyu was lying on the sofa playing games lazily, too lazy to check his scores by himself. Lu Xiaoying held her mobile phone nervously, constantly praying, "Bodhisattva bless my Yu to get good grades, bless my lucky son to have a bright future." Lin Guodong sat aside, with a confident smile on his face. He had long believed that Linyu was a lucky star who prospered the family, and his grades would definitely not be bad. They had already prepared everything. As long as Linyu's scores were slightly passable, they would immediately sell the old house and take out all their savings to send him abroad. Check Yu's score first. Our lucky son's grades are the most important, Lu Xiaoying urged excitedly. Lin Guodong entered Lin Yu's examination number and clicked query. The next second, the smile on his face froze completely. The score displayed on the screen was extremely dazzling, 189 points. A score so low that it was shocking, not even reaching the admission line of the worst vocational school in the city. The whole living room fell into dead silence in an instant. Lu Xiaoying stared at the screen with her eyes wide open, her face pale, and her whole body trembling. Impossible! This is impossible! My Yu is a lucky star. How can he get such a low score? There must be a system error. Lin Yu also jumped up from the sofa in shock, rushed to the mobile phone, stared at the score, and his face turned from arrogance to panic to collapse. How could I only get 189 points? It's fake. You must have entered the wrong number. He snatched the mobile phone and checked repeatedly, but the score never changed. 189 points, the worst score in the whole grade, a complete academic waste. Lin Guodong's hands trembled violently, and his face was ashen. All these years we have spent so much money on your tutoring, bought you so many review materials, and accompanied you to study every day. How did you get such a score? Faced with his father's questioning, Lin Yu instantly lost his temper and roared hysterically. It's not my fault. It's Lin Sui's fault. She is a restraining star. She suppressed my luck and ruined my exam results. As always, he pushed all his mistakes on me. Lu Xiaoying also suddenly came to her senses, her eyes turned red with hatred, and she rushed towards me fiercely. It's you evil star. You restrained your brother's fortune. You ruined our family's hope. I will beat you to death today. She raised her hand to slap me fiercely, with fierce and vicious eyes, wanting to vent all her disappointment and anger on me. In the past, I would dodge timidly and let her beat and scold me. But today, I raised my hand firmly and grabbed her wrist tightly, preventing her from moving an inch. My strength was so strong that she couldn't break free at all. Her arrogant and ferocious expression froze on her face. Everyone in the room was stunned, staring at me in disbelief. They had never seen me resist, never seen me have such cold and sharp eyes. I looked at Lu Xiaoying's distorted face, and my voice was cold and calm, without any fluctuation. 18 years ago, you believed in superstition and abandoned your biological daughter. You took an orphan as your lucky star. For 18 years, you have exhausted your family's wealth to pamper a lazy and incompetent white-eyed wolf, and squeezed your own flesh and blood as a slave. Now his failure is his own incompetence, not my restraint. Your so-called lucky star is just a useless waste you have spoiled for 18 years. Your so-called family prosperity is just a ridiculous illusion woven by your own superstition. Every word hit the family's sore spot hard, piercing their most persistent superstition and illusion. Lu Xiaoying was so angry that she was about to go crazy. Shut up, you simple thing. How dare you slander my Yu? Slander? I smiled coldly, picked up my mobile phone, and calmly clicked on my score query page. A dazzling score jumped out abruptly, 732 points. City top scorer, provincial second place, successfully passing the admission line of the top national university. The whole family was completely petrified on the spot. Lin Guodong stared at the score on my mobile phone, his eyes almost popping out, his face full of incredible shock. Lu Xiaoying's body softened, and she almost fell to the ground, her eyes blank and confused. The restraining star they abandoned and abused for 18 years is a once-in-a-century genius with top grades. The lucky star they tried their best to pamper and pin all their hopes on is an incompetent waste with a score of less than 200. The huge and ironic reversal completely shattered their 18 years of superstitious persistence. I looked at their collapsed and confused expressions and continued to speak coldly. You say I restrain the family's fortune, but I rely on my own efforts to get the highest score in the city and win glory for the family. You say he prospers the family, but he has wasted 18 years of your savings and efforts and finally got a useless score that can't even go to a vocational school. The real evil star and family disaster is not me, but the fake lucky son you have spoiled with all your heart. Lin Yu was completely stimulated by my score. He rushed over frantically, trying to snatch my mobile phone and delete the score page, roaring hysterically. It's fake. Your score is fake. You are a trash. You can't get such a high score. You stole my luck. I easily dodged his attack, raised my hand, and slapped him hard on the face. A loud and clear slap echoed in the living room, extremely powerful. This is the first slap Lin Yu has received in 18 years. He covered his swollen face, staring at me in disbelief, with tears of grievance and anger in his eyes. You dare to hit me. My parents never hit me. Your parents spoil you, but I don't have to indulge you. I looked at him coldly, my eyes sharp and stern. You are an adopted orphan who has occupied my resources for 18 years. You have no right to be arrogant in front of me. From today on, all the glory and resources that belong to me will be taken back by me one by one. Hashtag chapter 3-second explosion. Asset lockout. Emptied the family's lifelong savings. The score reversal completely crushed the family's spiritual pillar, but my revenge was far from over. I know very well that my parents are extremely greedy and stubborn. Even if they know Lin Yu is useless, they will still be reluctant to give up the 18 years of investment, and will still try their best to pave the way for him. Sure enough, after a short period of collapse, Lu Xiaoying wiped her tears and gritted her teeth to make a decision. Even if the score is low, we still have to send you abroad. Pheasant University is also a university. After he goes abroad and comes back with a diploma, he can still find a good job. Lin Guodong also nodded with a firm expression. We have saved more than 1 million savings plus the demolition compensation of the old house, which is enough for him to study abroad for 4 years. We can't let our 18 years of effort go to waste. They completely ignored my top university admission qualification, completely ignored my bright future, and still stubbornly wanted to empty all their assets for the fake son. They even looked at me with greedy eyes again. Lu Xiaoying said bluntly, Lin Sui, you got a good score and can go to a famous university, but your brother's future is the most important. You give up going to university, go to work to earn money, and fully sponsor your brother's overseas study. Your university tuition and living expenses can be saved to subsidize your brother. This is your atonement for restraining the family for 18 years. Lin Guodong echoed, That's the only way. Our family's money is all for you. You have to sacrifice for your brother. Their selfishness and partiality have reached an unimaginable level, completely devoid of parental morality and human nature. I looked at their greedy faces and smiled faintly. Want to use all the family's money to send him abroad? Want me to drop out of school to earn money for him? Yes, this is your duty, Lu Xiaoying said confidently. Unfortunately, it's too late. I took out a bank asset freezing certificate from my bag and placed it heavily on the tea table. Half a month ago, I have submitted all the evidence of your long-term abuse and illegal deprivation of my right to education to the court and applied for judicial preservation of all family assets. All your savings, demolition funds, and real estate funds have been fully frozen by the court. Without my signature and consent, you can't withdraw a penny, can't sell any house or property, and can't spend any money on Linyu. As soon as these words fell, Lin Guodong and Lu Xiaoying's faces turned completely pale, and their legs softened, and they almost collapsed on the ground. What? You froze our assets! How dare you? Lin Guodong roared in panic and anger. How dare I? I looked at him coldly. All the family assets are accumulated during the years when I worked part-time to support the family, and you squeezed my income. These assets contain my hard-earned money. You want to use my hard-earned money to support a lazy adopted orphan? The court will never allow it. Moreover, I have already submitted the evidence of your long-term domestic abuse and mental torture to the court. Once the case is finalized, these assets will be judged as compensation for my mental damage and educational losses, and all of them will belong to me. Lu Xiaoying was completely flustered, rushing to grab the certificate, crying and making a scene. You can't do this. This is our hard-earned money. You unfilial girl. Give it back to us. Unfilial. I raised my eyebrows coldly and took out the birth certificate and blood relationship appraisal report. I am your biological daughter, born of your blood. For 18 years, I have endured abuse and exploitation without complaint. You, as parents, abandon your own flesh and blood, spoil an outsider, and try to deprive me of my right to education and future, who is the real unfilial and heartless one. Then I took out Linyu's adoption file and orphanage certificate and completely exposed the truth in front of him. Linyu is an orphan without any blood relationship with you who've spent 18 years and all your wealth to raise a stranger, and squeeze your own daughter to atone for illusory superstition. This is the most ridiculous joke in the world. Linyu stared at his adoption certificate, his last trace of fantasy completely shattered. He finally fully understood that he was never a lucky star, just an abandoned orphan picked up by others. All the pampering was based on his parents' stupid superstition. Now that the superstition is broken, he has no value at all. Panic and despair flooded his heart instantly. He looked at his parents, who were no longer gentle, and suddenly broke out completely. It's all your fault. You lied to me for 18 years. You made me lazy and incompetent. Now you have no money to support me. You ruined my life. He rushed up and pushed Lu Xiaoying hard, venting all his anger and despair on his adoptive mother. Lu Xiaoying was pushed to the ground heavily, her waist hitting the corner of the tea table, screaming in pain, tears streaming down her face. The family completely fell into internal strife and collapse. The parents who had been united in squeezing me for 18 years turned against their beloved son in an instant, blaming and abusing each other. Hashtag Chapter 4/3 Explosion. Public humiliation. Relative circle full-scale overturn. The freezing of family assets made my parents completely desperate. They lost all their savings and could not complete Linyu's overseas study plan. But they still refused to repent. Instead, they held a family dinner on purpose, invited all relatives, and prepared to discredit me in front of everyone, kidnap me with public opinion and family affection, and force me to unfreeze the assets and continue to sacrifice for Linyu. They thought that as long as all relatives accused me of being unfilial and cold-blooded, I would have to compromise for the sake of face. It has to be said that their calculation is extremely shameless and naive. They don't know that all the face and reputation they care about the most will be completely destroyed by me at this family dinner. On the day of the family dinner, all relatives gathered in the hotel private room. As soon as everyone sat down, Lu Xiaoying began to cry and make a scene, crying and complaining about my unfilial behavior. Everyone comment, our family has worked hard to raise Lin Sui for 18 years, but now that she has good grades, she becomes arrogant and ungrateful. She freezes all our family's money, refuses to support her brother, and wants to force our family to death. Lin Guodong also sighed and pretended to be helpless. We have worked hard for half our life for our children, but we didn't expect to raise a white-eyed wolf. YUU's future is completely ruined now. For a moment, many relatives who didn't know the truth began to persuade me one after another. Sui, you are the elder sister. You have to let your brother. Your parents are not easy. Don't be too selfish. Good grades don't mean you can be unfilial. Hurry up and reconcile with your family. Facing the indiscriminate persuasion of relatives, I was not flustered at all and stood up calmly. I connected my mobile phone to the hotel's large screen and played all the evidence one by one in front of all relatives. First, the 18 years of voice recordings of my parents' abuse, exploitation, and superstitious remarks. Then, the birth certificate, blood appraisal report, and Lin Yu's orphan adoption file. Finally, the comparison photos of my years of hard work and hardship and Lin Yu's extravagant squandering. The clear audio, real files, and shocking photos completely exposed all the family's dirty secrets in front of all relatives. The noisy private room fell into dead silence in an instant. All relatives stared at the screen with shocked faces, looking at my parents with incredible eyes. They finally knew the truth. The so-called unfilial daughter is the poor biological daughter who has been abandoned and abused for 18 years. The so-called poor son who has a ruined future is just a lazy and incompetent adopted orphan. The parents' hard work and grievance are all self-directed and self-acted hypocrisy. My God, this couple is too vicious. Abandon their own baby for superstition. Squeeze their biological daughter to feed an orphan for 18 years. It's outrageous. The girl got the city's top score by herself, but they still want to force her to drop out to earn money for the adopted son. It's inhumane. No wonder the girl is cold-blooded. Anyone who has suffered 18 years of this kind of grievance will resist. The public opinion of the whole audience completely reversed. All relatives began to condemn Lu Xiaoying and Lin Guodong crazily, and no one was on their side anymore. An elder aunt who has always been kind to me stood up and said angrily, "For so many years, you have been saying that Sui is a bad luck star and Yu is a lucky star. It turns out that you have been lying to all of us. You have wronged the child for 18 years. You don't deserve to be parents at all. It's right for the child to freeze your assets. You should compensate the child for 18 years of suffering." Faced with the spurn and condemnation of all relatives, Lu Xiaoying and Lin Guodong's faces turned blue and white, and they wished they could find a crack in the ground to hide in. All their face and reputation were completely ruined in the relative circle. From then on, they became the most shameless, superstitious, and vicious couple in the mouths of all relatives, and no one was willing to associate with them anymore. Lin Yu stood aside, bearing the strange and mocking eyes of all relatives, and completely collapsed on the spot. He used to rely on his parents' favor to be arrogant and domineering among relatives, but now he has become a joke that everyone ridicules. He couldn't bear the pressure, rushed out of the hotel private room in shame and anger, and ran away without a trace. Hashtag Chapter 5 Fourth Explosion, White-Eyed Wolf Betrayal, Family Internal Collapse. After the family dinner scandal spread, the Lin family completely became a laughingstock in the whole community and relative circle. My parents lost all their face, their assets were frozen, their hopes were shattered, and their life fell into darkness overnight. They finally regretted it and realized how stupid their 18 years of persistence were. They began to humble themselves to please me, kneel down and beg for my forgiveness, hoping that I could unfreeze the assets and restore the family's peace. Sui, Mom knows she was wrong. Mom shouldn't be superstitious, shouldn't abuse you. Forgive Mom this time, okay? Daughter, Dad is sorry for you. We will treat you well in the future and make up for all the grievances you have suffered. Don't freeze our money. They knelt in front of me, crying and kowtowing with extremely humble attitudes. But I just stood there coldly, without any fluctuation in my heart. 18 years of cold abuse and endless exploitation can never be offset by a few lines of regretful tears. Their regret is not because they love me, but because they have lost all their wealth and hopes and have no one to rely on. If they still had money and Lin Yu was still promising, they would still continue to squeeze me without mercy. Just as I expected, their humbleness didn't last long before accidents happened again. Lin Yu, who ran away from the hotel, did not repent at all. Instead, he resented my parents for being useless, for failing to provide him with wealth and status, and ruining his life. He was used to extravagant consumption and couldn't bear the poor life without money. So he took advantage of his parents' guilty psychology and secretly swiped their credit cards to borrow usury outside. In just half a month, he owed more than 200,000 usury for gambling and partying. When the usury collectors came to the door to collect debts with axes and sticks, my parents were completely dumbfounded. Faced with a huge debt that they couldn't afford, Lu Xiaoying collapsed and cried, grabbing Lin Yu and asking him why he was so ignorant. But Lin Yu pushed her away fiercely, his eyes full of viciousness and indifference. "It's all your fault. You have no money to support me now, and you made me lose face in front of relatives. If you can't pay the debt, I will expose all your scandals to the school and the community and let everyone know how stupid and vicious you are." He is a complete white-eyed wolf, without any gratitude or humanity. My parents finally saw the true face of the son they had spoiled for 18 years. All their years of doting and dedication have been exchanged for betrayal and threat. Lin Guodong was so angry that he had a heart attack on the spot and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Lu Xiaoying was scared out of her wits, running around to borrow money to pay off the debt, but all relatives avoided her like a plague, and no one was willing to help her. The family's reputation was completely ruined. Their wealth was empty, their sons betrayed them, and their husbands were hospitalized. This is the karma they have planted by themselves. Hashtag Chapter 6 Final Cremation, Zero Redemption, All Evil Ends. A month later, the court judgment came down officially. The court fully recognized my parents' long-term mental abuse, forced labor, and infringement of minors' legitimate rights and interests. All the family's frozen assets, a total of more than 1.2 million savings and demolition funds, were judged as my mental damage compensation and educational subsidy, all belonging to me. At the same time, the court officially ruled that I would completely cut off the guardian relationship with my parents, and I would no longer bear any support obligations for them in the future. From then on, I have nothing to do with the Lin family anymore. On the day the judgment was announced, Lu Xiaoying knelt outside the court crying and making a scene, trying to pester me to forgive her, but I left without looking back. I used the compensation money to pay for my university tuition and living expenses, and donated the remaining money to fund poor rural students, helping those children who were as helpless as I was back then. And the wicked Lin family ushered in their final doom of full cremation. Lin Guodong suffered a severe heart attack due to excessive anger and depression and could no longer engage in heavy work. He lost his job and had no source of income, lying in bed all day suffering from illness. Lu Xiaoying was burdened with huge usury debts. She had no money to treat her husband's illness, no money to pay off the debts, and was harassed and threatened by debt collectors every day. Her hair turned white overnight, and she was haggard and old. Lin Yu, who owed huge debts, had no one to rely on. He was forced by debt collectors to drop out of school and wander on the street. He once tried to pester me for money, but I directly called the police to arrest him for extortion. After he was released from detention, he had no choice but to work as a coolie in the most humble construction site, suffering from the wind and sun every day, living a miserable life worse than a beggar. The family who once abandoned me for superstition, squeezed me for 18 years, and tried to ruin my future completely collapsed. They lost their wealth, their reputation, their health, their children, and all their hopes. The fake lucky star they tried their best to pamper became a useless coolie struggling in the mud. The real talented daughter they abandoned and abused became a top college student with a bright future. This is the most thorough and satisfying retribution. No one in this wicked family has a good end, which is worthy of the name of full family cremation. On the day I entered the top university, I stood in front of the university gate, looking at the bright sunshine and broad future in front of me. All the darkness and grievances of the past 18 years have completely dissipated. I no longer have a toxic family, no longer bear unnecessary fetters, no longer endure endless exploitation. From today on, I only live for myself. Those who are vicious and selfish will eventually be destroyed by their own evil karma. All wrongs will be righted, all debts will be repaid, and all darkness will eventually usher in light.